young age. I don't know. The left are bad people. Vote conservative.
So good. So you agree? You're happy that you're not
Whoa.
going to be on this side ever again.
I'll be on whatever side they need me, for content.
I will give you credit for taking on a stance outside of your your worldview. You know what I mean? Because
it's still going to get better. Like if I can't argue if I can argue the left's arguments better than they can, or like take arguments that they should be using and argue them, then when I argue them on these panels, fuck them, I'm going to beat them because I know this shit better than they do.
I think that's fair.
That's what makes me wonder about. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'm so sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, like, that's the thing with, like, political stuff. I'm like, I would consider myself, like, a centrist up until we started engaging with stuff. But when it actually pushed on stuff, I feel like the left is way harder to defend on stuff because it is nuanced. I think most things in life are nuanced, but it's like, that's not how a debate works, you know?
I do also think Canadian argue American. Sorry, Sarah.
No, that's okay.
Stuff. So
I think that battling the left, it is a uphill battle because most people always take it to that moral grounding, and it makes it even harder to defend because you don't have the stance that the right would have essentially for the moral grounding. And if everything, and I told you all backstage too, will end up in Christian morality, guarantee we're going there. And where did it go? Right. So because that always comes down to the root.
I think that I mean, I can't speak for sure, but I think the fact that like I said, I have a religious background kind of thing. Right. And I think maybe that's part of the reason why we didn't go to that, because I feel like that would have played to my strength, or maybe that was intentional on their side. However, I do think what you said was something interesting. I just talked about this on my channel not too long ago, is the rise of like the moral left. Right. And this is the first time, at least in my lifetime, where I can think of a case where the left is sitting here moral frogging to the conservative, like, you're bad, here's our moral logic. And it's very interesting to see the dichotomy between that and the Christian right, who's usually had the monopoly on the moral like high ground in debate spheres, in growing up, at least. I don't know. I find this is a new development. It's kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, no, I'm agreeable. Along with the here's a beer for Sarah. I appreciate that. And following up says, why can't the chat feel the goal without making the tomato ask? Take control of the night, boys. Yes, patriarchy. Use the force doctrine to promote the grift doctrine, ladies and gentlemen. Hall also follows up to say positive not equals good. Seriously, also the individual states agreed that there wasn't a national religion, that the federal could tell a state not to have theirs, and they did. Anyone feel like...
The individual states agreed that there wasn't a national religion. The Fed could tell a state not to have theirs, and they did. So you're saying that the freedom, or like the separation of state, like, is that the Fed could tell a state not to have theirs, and they did? So certain, like, the federal government can tell, like, individual states to practice Muslim, or to be Muslim or whatever. I don't know. Like, but that makes no sense to me.
Well, the first part of his argument was directed when we were trying to, because the whole debate came about, like, why are we, like, egging on this point about, like, what's your moral evaluation? Like, where do you object? Like, where do you get your objective morality from? Mm-hmm. And, well, this isn't a debate over this. This is a debate about whether or not masculinity is a positive force in politics. And I was like, well, positive implies good, right? So this is what his comments about. It's like, okay, how does it not equal good? Like, how is this not a morality debate in some sense? So that's where he's getting that component from. The other one, I'm Canadian. I will use the Canadian.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I understood the beginning. It's just the end confuses me.
Yeah, it's L being Canadian. Like, come on, I'm
Oh.
That's worse than being a woman.
Do you get the last part?
You got a double out. No, I'm just kidding.
No, it's all jokes. You know, it's like, yeah, I get it. It's all good.
What is I don't know.
Do you think that the federal can tell a state to not have theirs, and they did? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's
the federal government can't tell Massachusetts to be Christian.
Well, yeah, absolutely. There's definitely a separation of, church and state. I mean, originally, though, if we really look at history, the reason they did that is to keep state out of the religion, right? Not to keep the religion out of the state, right? That's a big thing that I think that, when people talk about church and state. However, we've developed over time this culture of separation. I think that is important because the culture in America has become somewhat of a melting pot. Like, the Catholics and the Orthodox are not the same. The Baptists and the Catholics aren't the same. The Mormons, and like, they all contribute differently. I think there is some strength to, like, collectivism in some regards, but it has to be compatible like collectivism. There's definitely cultures that don't mesh well, I think, is a way I would argue that.
Fair enough. BB says spurt in comfort packing bags for OS. Can't say more. I'm AFK for a while. Take care of each other. Chat is later. I'm not sure what that means.
Thank
I
you
think
for
there
the
was-
$10, BB.
Yeah, I like BB. BB comes in often and throws stuff in, but I'm not sure what that's for. TD says, DoorDash some vodka, Sarah. That would have been nice. Hall says, second for vodka delivery, Sarah. And follows up, I got you halfway to this goal, chat. Pick it up. And BB says, based box when you are more animated and talk faster than a talk short. Watch the bird hands in action. I know pointing out no hanging fruit, no low hanging fruit. BB out. See you later, BB. Random guy says both opponents completely lose when they can't answer the breakfast question.
I answered
Fair
it.
enough.
I said I'd feel like I feel right now because I didn't have breakfast this morning. I would feel probably that way tomorrow if I didn't have breakfast.
Fair enough. And then Oma John says Base was letting himself get mad because he was trying to focus on logic and he was arguing with a guy who isn't logical. Find your calm, bro. Fun though. Woosah.
Actually, a good tip, Oma.
And last one, last two. K2 keep on trucking says, Sarah, you should have brought out the belt fallacy for this debate. Damn, lunchtime. Yeah, I like to threaten throwing my shoe at people quite often.
I like the spanking more though.
Yeah, I'll spank your little.
Which
butt.
also took me back to my childhood. Like I was.
And of course, Finkel sending out 5 Raging Tomato gifted memberships. Is everyone ready for us to have fun with our open panel friends?
Fuck yeah! Woo! Let's go! Let's fucking
take a little
go!
break, but I'll be back after.
Yeah, no,
my
feel free to step away. We got a little short little intro video, and then we're gonna bring the panel on, and we're gonna be kicking ass from here.
Of course.
All right, here we go. All right. Let's see. We got Page Tweaker, Kel, Admiral Gibbs. Okay, fair enough. Okay, everybody is on panel. Of course, camming up gets you priority to the panel way faster than all of you avatar modes in the back. All right. So as we all know, we like to play the game. We like to play the boot game. So anyone on the bottom half of the panel is bootable, except I'm going to make one caveat for the evening because our dear lovely Duck was originally supposed to make this debate this evening and was filled in by Gibbs. So I'm going to give Duck a solid 30 minutes of unbootability. Okay. So I'm going to set a timer. And once that 30 minutes goes off, then I'll let the chat know because I know you guys like to boot him first thing, but we're going to give him at least 30 solid minutes on panel to let him do his thing. With that being said, you also are very familiar with my rules. You're interrupting, acting like assholes, being tards, whatever is very upsetting to me. And I've already had a long 2.5 hours. So if you could please be mindful of that, I'd greatly appreciate it. And also, final statement, I have started the Gauntlet. The Gauntlet channel is up and launching. I'm going to start dropping the link in the chat. We're going to start maneuvering over to the Gauntlet, and Tomato side will shut down. So if you want to start moving now or catch the raid, that's fine. Okay. All right. Whoever wants to fire first, go ahead.
So this is a pretty liberal panel. Masculinity. This is a pretty liberal panel, but I wanted to offer a sort of factual point. Hopefully this is a little based. It's a little bit sort of, it defines for most of us sort of what the people on the left and center sort of think of masculinity. And so research in the 1960s actually proved that when you talk to men that self-reported about masculinity, they were less competent at performing day-to-day tasks. One example is, so you picture you're a dude in the 1960s, everything's booming, and all of a sudden your wife dies, so you're a widower. And masculine men at this time failed to take care of their wives. They failed to plan. And these were guys that said, my most important values are work. My most important values are being that sort of, masculine patriarch. So doesn't this undermine masculinity in the sense of politics that if I can't even take care of my fucking wife, how could I be a leader? And this just happens when I say I'm a masculine guy. Is that right?
No, that's 100% right. I think that's an interesting little observation. I think that's a primary way to like win at. I think that's probably like if I was playing devil's advocate on that front, I'd be like, okay, well, yeah, this one study that you cited, while it's a good thing, that's like what you want to do when you're arguing your claim. It's like, I'm sure we could like. I feel like that's an easily counterable claim. Would be my rebuttal, I guess. Not even rebuttal.
But how though?
Like, I'm on your side.
Yeah,
I'm on your side.
No, Kel, but honestly, how do you refute that? If the people that define themselves as masculine end up actually they're the ones that end up committing intimate partner violence, especially when they can't fulfill their masculine role in society. This is scientific. They don't take care of their wives. They report lower self-esteem at certain times. It's almost like a mental illness. And so how do you actually refute this point? This is about science.
How does that like pertain to politics though? Like partner violence, you could argue, okay, well maybe they're better conquerors or like whatever. Like there's so many like little tiny rabbit holes.
It didn't though, right? Like that the prompt was masculinity is a positive force for politics. How does it even relate to politics in the first place? I could say unicorns are a positive force for politics. Do you Yeah. So unicorns are a positive force for politics. What does a unicorn have to do with politics? Obviously it's silly. So masculinity, it's why is it not the same thing as saying unicorns?
Well, that's exactly what I was saying. That's what I was trying to point out.
There was an obvious point that everybody didn't really touch on, right? Like, what is politics? Politics is the art of compromise. Do you guys consider masculinity to be more compromising or less compromising than femininity?
Depends on the situation. I think in a lot of ways you could easily say that masculinity is much more conducive to that kind of problem solving and like getting to a solution, whereas the feminine would be more about everybody's feelings and stuff like that. Speaking broadly, of course. So it depends.
You wouldn't think that people who are caring about people's feelings more than others wouldn't be the ones who care more about compromising?
But what makes that inherently?
That's why I said it depends. It depends on the issue.
What makes that inherently female or male? I think we're missing the point because it's like, fortitude, strength, blah, blah. Okay, yes, okay, there's exceptions to everything. It's like, what makes that intrinsically masculine? I still have not gotten like a definition of it. I feel like Sarah, do you think I was wrong on that one? Like,
say it again.
I feel like I still have not gotten like a solid definition of masculinity. I feel like I've gotten like the pillars, the descriptors, like.
So it's the cultural ideal that exists within the gender, in the normative gender.
I was going to say, can we define it, in such a way where people are agreeable to the definition? So in that instance, what I would have done was try to find an agreement between the two of you of where masculinity is defined that you can agree on that point. Because if you can't agree on what the word masculinity means, then everything else gets squashed.
Yeah.
Well, who was the guy that was just talking? I apologize. I missed your name.
That was me, Effigy.
Effigy. So you actually nailed something really key right there. What did you just say? It's the cultural context of what masculinity is, right? Like that's a key point that both Kel and I argued.
It's the cultural ideal specifically. That's usually what controls like the core idea of what masculinity is as a culture. There's many nebulous ideas of masculinity orbiting around it. That cultural ideal within that culture is usually what defines it in that place.
Right. Yeah. And politics. Yeah. I agree with the cultural aspect. That's kind of the point I was making. I feel like.
Yeah, it's a construct.
So
like being a male is objective, but the masculinity you put on top of it is a construct that can change depending on your culture.
He's got it.
Yeah, but it doesn't. But it also doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
No. Donald Trump said it. Wait, 1 second, Based. Listen, let me talk. So, Donald Trump said over 80 times. Donald Trump said over 80 times Kamala was a horrible woman. This isn't changing what the normative conception of masculinity or femininity is. This is just leveraging bias against women. And people think Donald Trump is like the Don, right? He's Trump the Don, and so. kind of putting those ideas together, it's like, well, masculinity might be a dangerous construct. It also might just be this sort of backstop where, people try to get away with political tomfoolery because it's like, well, I don't see an overwhelming reason why I wouldn't do this.
So this gets in a really interesting conversation that a lot of people are going to roll their eyes on, but no one, and someone's brought this up. I think it was Kel who brought this up. None of these traits are specific only to one sex.
Yes.
These traits are what these specific genders are identifying with. They're defining what these things are, even though it's not biologically specific to them. I mean, there's high correlation that you could say that the biology definitely informs. Like, you can't get away from that. I'll agree with a lot of people on the other side on that one. But
I would agree that
only intrinsic to them, and they're choosing to make
way more than the culture. The virtues and the traits define them way more than the culture. The culture takes those traits and applies them to their own culture.
Where do the virtues come from?
I hear you, and I would agree with that.
Their actual masculinity, their biology, their testosterone, their nature. Again, when you actually talk about what men are supposed to do in society, it's based on ontology.
Can you relate virtue to testosterone for me really quickly?
I'm not talking to you.
Well, just
not one time am I. I'm not. Never.
Can you just clarify that for me really quick?
That's really
bad. Corinth, go fuck yourself. I'm never talking to you.
Okay,
it's really bad faith.
Listen. I'm like, thank you. I should have written it down. This is my fault. I learned now on these panels. I'm like, I'm gonna remember my train of thought. I'm like, listen. I'm so frustrated. I don't remember what I was gonna.
Well, I didn't get to catch the beginning of the debate. So can someone recap just really quickly why masculinity would not be good for politics?
Well, that's not the claim. It's a.
She'll be back in about 15 seconds.
Yeah. There are clear reasons. You can look at someone like George W. Bush, a son of Texas, his brother, his father, both huge politicians,
so can someone explain
very famous people. And, we saw him lose control of the narrative. He didn't explain what the Taliban or Mujahideen actually is, what it means. He didn't explain clearly why we need a war in Iraq. And we see 20 years later that, there is mass famine, starvation, stuff we still don't talk about, possibly war crimes, and really expensive 20-year escapade. Afghanistan's back in the Taliban now. And so if people trusted George Bush because he was a man, they voted for him because he was a man, if they thought that he had that sort of swagger about him, even if it was implicit, that's really dangerous. It's something we should talk about.
What I was going to say is, and I think there is merit to what you're saying, 100%, Doug. What I was going to say is I think you're right. I think you're right in your assertion that what we're talking about is that, masculinity, what we're defining it as, can be very culturally polluted. And that was, I think that's why I felt so frustrated, because I feel like you felt the same way, that we were making your argument for you. And I felt the same way, where it's like we're looking at two sides of the same coin, but it's like we both have, some minor, sub-definition that's going to, disqualify, various arguments or whatever. But at the end of the day, yes, there are certain characteristics that are inherently masculine. I just felt like you guys were over-conflating what those were. So I wouldn't say that. No, I wouldn't say that fortitude. You just throw in a lot of adjectives that I'm like, well, wait a second. I wouldn't agree that that's inherently masculine. If we're talking about what is inherently masculine, what adjectives I would qualify that as exclusively, it would be literally having fucking balls, a ton,
When you say exclusively, you're creating a monolith. I never created a monolith. We're speaking in generalities, which we do in almost every instance in this planet, in everything. So stop. When I gave you multiple different definitions, I actually had 3. I have them on my screen. 3 different definitions that I gave you of masculinity, and guess what? You confirmed all 3 of them and gave positive examples of how they benefit society through politics. And when we tried to talk about that, all you wanted to do was say, oh, well, bad this and bad that. So we go into morality. And
so what you're saying is we control the debate.
No, we tried to, and then Sarah let you control it again.
Thank you.
I'll
take that point.
Control of it the whole time, and then Sarah was just like, oh, wait, they're on this side. It's like, yeah, no, we flipped them. That's how that worked.
Well, that's why I asked Sarah.
Hold on. Let me read a few super chats, and for everyone watching on the tomato side, start moving over to the Gauntlet. Now I'm going to drop the link one more time, and then I'm closing out tomato. So you can either catch the raid or hit the link and go over. All right. Tomato side is officially shutting down. And then let's see. The old Sarge Finkel coming in with a big 20 says, I'm the alpha in my relationship. I am always right as long as she lets me.
Yeah.
Fair enough. How Long says, dipping out of the dumpster fire, but little lady should find herself an Orthodox boy and learn the logic of faith. I think that was shot to you, darling little Kel.
You should find yourself an Orthodox boy and learn the logic of the faith. Shalom. What you doing later?
Finkel says, oh, here we go again with the Gauntlet nagging. Yes, you know I'll nag, and that's why you sent out 5 Gauntlet memberships over on that side. And of course, the boot already came in for Ryan per usual. If you want to get him back up on screen, you know what to do. And Neve, of course, is asking for a 1v1 between Corinth and Tweaker. Tweaker, are you still with us?
Yeah.
All right.
No, I'm not even gonna have a conversation with him.
He's scared. He's running.
He's not scared. I legitimately don't have the mental capacity after everything that I've been through. I cannot argue with him right now.
Well, unfortunately, you've been paid.
Teddy bear.
That's fine. He can argue against me.
I'm just big and cuddly.
We're going into speed date mode between the two of you, so everyone else can take a little potty break or something.
So, Corinth, why are you a virgin?
Because I'm saving for myself for marriage like a good Christian. Why do you want me to be a degenerate?
I didn't say anything about you being a degenerate. I asked you why you were doing a thing. So why would it be considered degeneracy if you were to lose your virginity?
I'm just using your internal worldview.
No, you're not using my internal worldview. You're presupposing my worldview when I actually asked you a question. Again, I'll ask it again. Can you tell me why you saving yourself for with your virginity is virtuous?
I'm just adopting Christian ethics for the sake of the conversation.
Okay, again, you're adopting it because I asked you a question. I asked you about virginity. No, I asked you your morality, not mine. Again,
you asked me why I'm a virgin.
Yes, so and you're trying to presuppose my morality for your justification?
I'm not presupposing anything. I'm adopting.
Okay, so wait, you're right. No. So again, you're adopting my moral, so I win the argument.
Depends what's the argument here, because you just asked me a question.
Yeah, why are you a virgin?
Okay, so is that an argument or is that a question? I'm confused.
I asked one more time.
Okay, adopting the Christian morality because I'm saving myself for marriage.
So you have to adopt my morality to actually give an answer to my question?
I don't have to. I can.
I've asked you multiple times to answer my question.
I did answer your question.
No. You're equivocating. You're taking
What's the equivocation?
My moral claim versus yours. You're giving the least amount of yourself. You're giving the least amount of your own and the most amount of mine.
Okay, so an equivocation is to use the same word in 2 different meanings. I'm not sure which word I've used in 2 different meanings. Can you clarify for me which one I used?
Fair. This is why I don't want to argue with you right now.
Okay, so before you said that masculinity was like a biological thing, not a social thing. You said it was because largely.
You're strawmanning me. No, you're strawmanning me. That was one of the multiple examples that I gave of the definition. The definition is biological, it's cultural, and it's also epistemical. Or you know the word I'm trying to use.
Epistemic.
Thank you.
I don't even want to touch that one with a 10-foot pole. I'm just confused.
Of course you don't, because you're afraid.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what it is, but
yes,
I want to touch on this other one. You said that we got the virtue from testosterone. Can you clarify how we?
No, I didn't. I didn't say we got the virtue from testosterone. I said testosterone is the biological
where we got the virtue from.
I said the biological component was testosterone. When someone asked me that, that was not the
asked you where we derived the virtue from, and
no.
traits of biology.
The delineation. The delineation was where men got it versus women. Testosterone is what actually gives it in men because they're able to enact it.
So just to be clear, you don't think the question Effigy asked you is where we get the virtue from? When you said that it was a virtue.
That's not the question I responded to. And if I responded incorrectly, I'll fall on that sword, no problem.
Okay, I'm going to say you did respond to incorrectly because that was Effigy's question.
Well, then I misinterpreted his question.
Okay, so in what sense what question were you answering? Can you tell me?
I don't know why you're asking me a question that I didn't get to answer. Why don't you ask me the question that you want me to answer?
You were giving an answer to Effigy, so I'm asking you what that was an answer to.
The one that you wanted for Effigy, the one that you're over here, you're riding is
okay, yeah.
Ask that question.
I am. We're very close like that, but I'm asking you, So where do we get the virtue of
masculinity from? Okay. The virtue of masculinity. No, masculinity isn't a virtue. Masculinity has virtues. You have it backwards.
Okay, where do we get the virtues that masculinity has from?
They're inherent from God.
Which parts of them are inherent from God? Can you give me a list of them or no?
I've given a list of all of the.
I've
given. Yeah, no. I mean, I don't care if your limited brain can remember. I've said them 100 times.
Well, I kind of care. That's why I'm asking you. Can you repeat them for me?
But you obviously don't care because, again, you're trying to argue my morality when I asked you very clearly about your virginity. And when
I can't even understand it.
Yeah, when you obfuscated and tried to use my morality to justify your action, again, all you're doing is saying that I'm right here too.
I'm just giving you a reason that you would hold to as to why that action would be compelling. Because
again, this wasn't an internal.
Will be compelling
when
to
I
me
asked
mentally.
you the question first. So again, you're begging the question.
That's not begging the question because you asked the question.
No, I asked the question and then you asked a question. That's what.
Yeah, do you know what begging the question even is? There's not actually a question in begging the question. You know that, right?
No, because when I say why you're doing a thing, why you're using my morality, that is begging the question. Because I have to ask the question.
Oh, that wasn't begging the question. The question you asked me was, why are you a virgin? And I gave you a reason
my morality, which you...
Yeah.
Yes, and now I'm saying that since you've done that, in this argument, you're going to have to agree to the same thing.
Okay, I'm not saying I'll disagree. I'm just asking, what am I agreeing to?
Yes, so what you're agreeing to is that masculinity comes from God.
Yeah, so what is masculinity, though?
I've already defined it multiple times. Why do I have to define it for you, Corinth?
Because you already said I have a limited brain. Look at the little cat right there. That's who you're talking to. That little cat's who you're being mean to right now.
No, I'm being mean to you because you're afraid. And you hide your
face. That was pretty weak, bro. That was pretty weak. Oh, well, under your ideology... Can I ask you, Tweaker, because I feel like I'm in a rather unique position because I am an atheist, but I very much think that masculinity in politics is a good thing. And so, can you speak to the notion that I agree with you that the values of masculinity, we have them inherently, but I just don't, I just don't attribute a God to that. And so, if you could, I think I'm picking up that somebody or multiple people are having an issue with the God part. Can you talk about the if we were to just say inherent and natural and not coming from God?
I would agree with that.
Yeah, but inherent and natural, everything came from God.
But I disagree with that.
You believe that.
Here's the thing.
For the purposes of this conversation,
that's fine. But when I make an assertion and you don't actually say, "Hey, God didn't do this. God didn't do that," you just go off of what I say. Then you're actually agreeing with my definition. So unfortunately,
I'm just asking you.
I'm talking
let me speak, boys. Let me speak for a second. Oh my God, you guys need to be tard-wrangled constantly, worse than I do.
Yeah, I definitely think you're the tard, dude.
Okay, dude, listen. Okay, he cammed off, dude. He's scared. He's running again. He's running like he ran from effigy. Listen, all we're saying is we're asking if you don't believe in God. It's like I understand that why you have that moral framework. We just want an actual, tangible, applicable example. That would be my response to that question. Well, go ahead, Gibbs.
Yeah, I don't actually have much to add. I just wanted to ask you a clarifying question, Indian, before I give an answer. Sure. What do you? I hate to be the debate, bro, and I'm not doing this as a gotcha. Just trust me. When you say inherently and natural, what do you mean by inherently, if you don't mind?
So in this case, I just mean it is not built or grown or developed. That is a default.
Okay.
So because obviously, like I just said, I'm an atheist, but I also see I have a very positive view of masculinity in general, but also within politics. And again, sorry if you guys went over this already, but like there was a while we were talking about toxic masculinity, and I'm of the opinion that that's not a thing that exists.
We never talked about that.
So, is that the notions of masculine behaviors may be going too far?
No. You misunderstood. Well, I use that as a precursory example. I'm like, look, how many people interpret masculinity different in different cultures. I could say that, oh, look at masculinity, it's toxic. other people could say, look, it's fortitude, it's blah blah blah. So we need like to agree on like a tangible example. Go ahead, Gibbs. Sorry.
Well, so in addition to that, right, this is the reason why I like laughed that they brought up God in the last 30 minutes, right? There's a reason why in my opening I refer, and I know I read it fast, but I did debate bro to read it fast to get it all in there on time. Is there I referred to the Christian version from the 1950s several times. The reason I did this, and then I referred to other different religious versions of masculinity, is if you're deriving your theory of masculinity and values from a moral standpoint from a God, and I can point to other valid examples of varying forms of masculinity that come from different moral gods, then those morals are also just as valid as yours. And so this is why I kept going back to my logic train thought of, okay, we have to take religion out in this scenario, and we have to look at the politics aspect, which is the polis of the people. Okay. And in this way, it's failed. That's kind of
no.
I think that makes way more sense.
Every single time, no, it doesn't make sense because you tried to presuppose logic and morality without giving a fundamental grounding for it. All you did over and over was give examples of what you thought was bad, and then said, "Oh, because of death." Okay, why is death bad?
Well,
when you say
people don't like it.
When you actually ask a question, you need to answer the question.
It's always easy to kick the hornet's nest when you don't presuppose their God exists. Like
no, it's not about that. We didn't presuppose it until the end because you refused to actually ground it morally. Again, you ground it morally, and you refuse to even attack our morals.
Well, I can explain that. I can explain that.
Can't explain any of it. You can't even give a fucking moral foundation.
Go ahead, Gibbs.
Well, so here's the thing, and this is once again why I brought up different religions, and I brought up their very valid forms of degenerate ideas of masculinity, like the orgies, where they have orgia, where they have orgies dedicated to gods, like Bacchus, where they engage in Bacchanalia, and I pointed out other things that were very toxic in most contexts of masculinity, like the blood sports, the Colosseum. However, this is the peak of their empire, and then we look at American masculinity, which is very different from that. If your moral framework is saying this good, and we're doing worse than this other version, or arguably worse, and you're even admitting it's arguably worse, then you're saying this other moral framework is superior, and thus your argument fails once again.
No, it doesn't.
This is why once again I go back to the logical framework.
You refuse to.
No, I will.
Actually,
I can explain that to you. No.
Grounded it in several different religions.
You lost the argument based on logic because
are we back in the exact same thing that we were like literally an hour
Yes,
ago?
it's the same shit. Because if you don't have a moral claim, you can't give it odd. You can't say this.
Hey, base speaker. Hey, base speaker. Hey, base speaker.
You have to say.
Based.
I get it.
Please calm
down. Go ahead, Cal.
Please calm down. Please.
Cal's using my tactic now. Oh, how the turntables.
Listen. Calm down, sweetheart, please.
No, listen. I would say I don't think it's a comprehensive or fair assessment to say that only people grounded in Christian values are going to have morality, because that wouldn't make any sense. Like if we look at all like societies throughout history, like Gibbs was saying, it's like. So I would say that what's your grounding for it? I would say that I believe that humans are, it is human nature to not do, there's probably only a handful of things on this list, really, because most things are nuanced, but to not murder, to not, like, to protect your own, there's like a handful of things that are intrinsically human that I think that whether or not people found Jesus, they would abide by those. Unless you're
the example you use with Papua New Guinea that supports our argument would
I didn't use that.
The antithesis. No, it was y'all's argument. It was your teammate, remember?
I just explained
the antithesis of what you just described, okay? It's immoral by society standards, what you say, but you're not telling me why. Because at the end of the day, you know it means you believe it because you believe it. It's circular. At the end of the day, mine's
just like religion. No, just like religion, yes.
No,
exactly.
It's not circular. That's the best part.
Well, you have a book to cite.
It's dogmatic for sure.
You have a book to cite that I don't believe has validity. So it goes in exactly
you
right in a
don't
loophole.
Believe it. No, it doesn't go into any hole. You have to understand that you're presupposing all morality when you make the claim, this is bad because I think it and society thinks it. You creating a monolith in society.
No, I'm not saying in society.
All morality is
but
exactly
until you prove the existence of God, you're doing the same thing. You're just...
Okay, then you could have asked that question. You could have asked that question. You could have done that.
Okay, prove God exists. Can you prove God exists?
Because if I ask a question with a question...
All right, let me break this up. We're going to run through a couple super chats, then we got another speed date coming. How long says, Base Tweaker, did you walk into his line of logic? That was during the speed date. Also, Kel, I have a few Mormon nephews, but you're too young for me.
You think I'm Mormon?
I don't know what he thinks. First he says ortho, then he goes with Mormon. I don't know where we are with that one. And then he follows up to say the virtues of masculinity are those traits that if men stopped exhibiting would accelerate the demise of society. Okay, now we're getting somewhere with a point.
I said that over and over.
And then Hall wants AZ. I'm assuming that's you as Azrael. and
You look like
Tweaker to debate.
I don't
And
like Andrew
also
Tate.
K2, I'm just waiting for the point to hit it. Kitty Cat is backstage, by the way. Also, I want to elaborate. I have Eli Nix, Ryan the Radical Coder, James Life Talks, KO Dave, and Cat GPT all waiting patiently backstage. Duck has 3.5 more minutes before he can officially get booted, and we're gonna go ahead and go into speed mode.
I just want to go to bed. Why?
I also think Duck looks really.
Oh my god, I don't even know you. I've never even seen you before.
All right, it's all good. So I do want to go ahead and clear up this masculinity thing. I don't like cutting people off, but so anything like he was saying, I was going to say any attribute that is necessary for society for men to have, just like any attribute that women would have, is a feminine virtue. So within those virtues, anything that attributes to that. So let's say if men stop protecting. So if 100% of men stop protecting everyone, a society would fall and we would crumble. We'd get taken over. So anything that attributes to us being able to protect, like strength and things like that, would be a masculine virtue. And I think that'd clear up a lot of your guys' argument on what a masculine virtue is.
Well, again, I actually said this multiple times, that if you take anything and you extrapolate it to the extreme, so you take like loyalty, for instance, and you go ahead and you show, I mean, I didn't really have to do this. You demonstrate this by the sisterhood, right? Where they lie to each other and they manipulate each other into believing things aren't true. But when you talk about the brotherhood, right? We're here to lift each other up or hold each other accountable for our failures. So it's easy to take something and extrapolate it to its extreme and show which virtue is which. And you can do it with any virtue. You name the virtue and you could do the same. You take all women, all men, and you say, okay, lose the virtue and see how detrimental it is to society. And whichever one has obviously the maximum impact is going to be virtuous on that side. It's very easy to extrapolate the data.
Exactly. So we can agree on that. And were you on that side to say that masculine virtues are good or bad for society?
Masculine
for politics,
positive.
Positive.
Again, positive can be a moral claim, or it can just mean that it is beneficial when it comes to logistics, economics. So I tried to argue both sides.
So you were saying it's positive. That is also my take, is that masculine virtues would be positive for society, as seen through the many years that men have been ruling. It's patriarchal throughout most of history. People want to argue for small little things like Queen Elizabeth and a couple women who've had power, but even then it was ruled through the force doctrine of men, and without men we don't really have society. And if we were to take men out of politics, masculinity out of politics in general, we have no way to kind of impose ourselves onto other societies who would try to therefore impose themselves on us.
Can I also mention something too, because I want to speak to what they were speaking to, because I can do it better. I'm a devil's advocate kind of guy. So when you're sitting here trying to talk about these virtues, what they were trying to say is that masculine virtues aren't inherent in this fact that they can be in the other side as well. So feminists and females can hold certain virtues, right? So you can have strength, you can have leadership, you can have them because it's not monolithic to men. But the problem is when you actually extrapolate that to the end, it doesn't give the same thing. It doesn't produce the same thing to society. That's why you have different virtues on both sides. It sucks because I tried to get into this and it never got explained properly.
Yeah, maybe so. I didn't get to see the whole debate. I've been a little busy playing with my dog and stuff. But there is the thing. Like if we look at women's role or women's proclivity to be subjective to influence, like that's why 80% of all infomercials, propaganda is like specifically put towards a women's perspective, because men, we're not very influenceable. We're kind of hard-headed and we're stuck in our ways, and that's kind of what you want in politics, and that in itself is a masculine virtue.
So I actually agree. So when you go and talk about the masculine virtues that were taken out to what they were trying to say that agreed with our point, the soft men that created this feminist ideology so that they could finally get some poontang, right? So they went ahead and created this mentality that's like, you go and you do this, but please sleep with me. So what actually happened was weak men that didn't have masculine virtues, right? Yeah, they were men, but they didn't have masculine virtues. They had feminine virtues. They went ahead and created this weird society that allows us to propagate these ideals that detriment our society, degrade our society, and bring degeneracy to our society. Not even from a Christian paradigm, but in general, when you sit here and say, oh, well, your worth is equivalent to how many men you can be with. Well, men don't even see it that way. We just see the fact that you get female validation based on the amount of women are willing to sleep with you. But we don't give them inherent value because of that. Their value and their worth is tested by their character and how we perceive them. There's a reason why there's a hierarchy in men. Because at the end of the day, when I know when to shut the fuck up is when another man is the one that's leading that situation. And it's not because he made me do it. It's because I understood the assignment.
Yeah, there's a hierarchy in both women and men. The women's hierarchy just isn't as clear cut. So we can kind of see in a men's hierarchy, like if I tell somebody smaller than me, shut the fuck up, or else I'm gonna they're gonna be like, my bad, bro. I'm like, yeah, that's right. Say it again and see what happens. But women, they like to talk behind people's back, spread rumors, try to destroy their reputation, not to their face, where men are gonna kind of more upfront because we have the physical force doctrine to do so. If we say something some way, we're gonna back it up with force doctrine, not with opinions, not with gossiping behind your back and stuff like that.
You can relate that same thing back to feminism. Those weak men are doing the same thing. They're over there girl gabbing and gish gabbing and trying to
they're feminine.
Still problem. Yeah. Feminism is bad. Masculinity is great. Yeah, we demonstrated that for quite.
But I think you're hurting your own argument by bringing it to bringing the religious aspect into it. And like, if you think that because of your religious ideology, that's fine. But to tie that to the conclusion, then, as I said before, you would have to prove that God exists and that the Bible.
No, actually, the onus isn't on me.
Why not?
Anything, because again, they didn't actually contend with it.
You're the affirmative.
I'm not. I'm here right now, and I'm telling you, your position.
No. The only reason that it was ever represented because the only thing they ever wanted to make were moral claims, and they claimed that we refused to make one, and we did. So at the end of the day, no, you never made a single reason why bad is bad. I asked you over and over. Okay, how about this? Gibbs.
Real
with
talk.
me, right here, me and you, Gibbs. I need you to answer me a question, okay? I want all the women on this panel to come into grape cages. Tell me why it's bad.
Well, why
population's dwindling. Our society's collapsing. Okay, why is it bad?
I mean, because it's suffering, and there's better ways to do it. More than likely.
Principle.
I mean, listen, you can try.
No, I'm asking for a grounding in morality, please.
I am trying to ground in morality.
But you don't have either.
Well,
yes, I do.
Hold on.
You think you do?
Hold on. What is the advantage of? What is the benefit? Let's start there. Make the claim. What is the benefit of grape cages?
I just said that I would do it. What's the bad in it? I didn't say anything about benefit. I didn't say anything about net positive. I'm asking a simple claim of if I decide to do this, why is it bad?
Well,
why is it bad that I did it?
I'm asking you why it's good first.
So you're asking a question to answer.
I mean, obviously, if you're going to do something, you're going to do something, and obviously you perceive that it's good. That's why you're going to do it.
No. Because again, you're automatically presupposing morality, and you haven't established it. This is the whole point of this question.
I can throw you a bone. So, not that I would actually think it is, just to kind of help you out, is we are below replacement rate. So, would actually help us go above replacement rate.
Okay.
Okay. So that's the positive. That would be the positive claim, right?
Which I said initially.
For grape.
So this is kind of ridiculous.
Hold on. We're gonna run it. Grape cages are good because we will get our population replacement back in order and inevitably establish something that's better for society. I would kick back and say I think it would be more harmful to society because those women are also the same women that should be raising those children. And with women who are damaged as such by such terrible things, that's what your children are being raised by. And they probably would not want those children to be raised in that event. And then you're going to see a lot more women trying to get rid of said babies with either AB or quietly putting them to sleep, in such ways where they don't wake back up, because they would perceive that as a worse off society for their child to thrive in, and therefore you actually would be negative.
Okay, so I'm glad that you're giving all these examples, right? So what I'm asking fundamentally is, why are any of the things that you said bad? Why are they bad? You're saying they're bad
because they cause harm.
Okay,
and
so
when things are harmful,
you
then
believe that
it doesn't.
harm is caused,
Do you want an answer to the question, or do you just want to keep tweaking? Do you want an answer to the question, or do you want to keep tweaking?
No. If someone breaks into my house,
no. Look, they're always gonna spurg as soon as you give a singular answer, because all they've got is a singular answer for morality.
That's all right. I got it up here. You keep going. Whenever you're done, I'll answer your original question.
No. And it's not even nobody's going off a beaten path. All we did was match, right? Azrael gave the example, the positive claim.
A hypothetical.
Look, focus. Okay, I need you to focus. You gave a claim. You gave the positive claim, which Azrael actually assisted here and gave the reason why this is a positive claim, which is what I was asking. Why would that be good for society? Right. And so he gave the positive claim, and then all I did was net negative it by saying that it would not be beneficial, because here's what's more likely to happen than not. Nobody gave a bunch of crazy ass examples. It was just matching one for one. Yeah. I don't know where you're going off with a bunch of examples.
Why so many times? Why would you say it's bad? That's the only claim.
So do you want an answer to that question? Because I can answer the question.
Nobody's even saying it's bad. We're just going positive to negative and negative to positive. That's all we're doing.
I'll say it's bad. It's bad because it creates harm, and then it creates harm to those.
No, let me speak real quick.
It creates harm to the women who are part of the society. That's number one. Number two is the fact that if you have a society where you have grape cages, then that's going to allow people to think that grape is okay, and that is going to happen more often, and that is also going to make people less happy, less able to avoid the degeneracy that you're talking about. This is what I'm telling you. You are destroying your argument by grounding it in a religious thing. This is not a religious argument, yet you're trying to back yourself into a corner. And then I'm just going to ask you, okay, if that's your objective morality, prove that it exists. Prove that God exists.
First off,
one second. Can I interject real quick? You're saying that I would argue with the last point. I was with you until the last point. I would say, not that I don't think it's true, but because there's holes to poke in the argument. If we're looking at the fundamental question, okay, making a rape culture, there's there's a lot of ways we could go with that people might be able to poke holes in it. However, when we're talking about the fundamental crux, if I said, shut up, we're going to put this person's head in a safety deposit box, you're like, why the hell would we do that?
I'm next, Gibbs. I don't care. I am next.
Okay, no. But listen, if I'm saying, why the hell would you do that? You go, will you ask it?
I can poke holes.
Will you answer my question with a question?
This message is sponsored in part by.
Shout out to K2, keep on trucking. He's been begging, please in the chat to play it. He did pay to play for it, earlier to get played, and I owe one more, and then I'll hold here.
Sarah, whatever happened to the night video? That is what initially drew me to Creation Tomato and the Gauntlet. That video was so sick.
I would say that when everybody gets brought up. Did you not see it when I was before I opened the panel?
I'd watch it a couple times tonight, but for science.
on people answering a question with a question. Well, the thing is, if you come up to me and you go, will you please put this head in the safety deposit box? I would go, why the hell would I do that? And you go, well, why is that bad? Do you understand the hole in that argument and why it's I just know it's bad?
There's no hole in the argument. Again, I've asked you simple questions and said X thing is this. Why?
I can't tell you why putting this person's decapitated head.
Okay, so then prove that your morality is objective. Prove that your morality is objective.
Stop. Tweaker, you gotta chill, dude. What we're doing is we're forcing you to make the claim. Azrael supported you there and made the actual claim, because we're not making the claim. You're just asking a random ass question that it had nothing to do with anybody's claim. Nobody was talking about grape cages. And you said, well, why would grape cages be bad? Nobody even said anything about that. You want to make the claim, make the fucking claim, and then we'll respond. But you cannot just throw random claims out to the other direction for them to pick up and fire back as if they're going to defend it. We don't have to. It's
so
your
if I
fucking
pose
claim.
a hypothetical and ask why something is bad, then
that's not even a hypothetical. That's just saying, why are grape cages bad?
Yes. If you pose a hypothetical, because I'm trying to get to the
what is a grape cage? Is a grape cage actually?
He's literally just asking why is bad.
I think you know what a grape cage is.
It's reductive in the conversation.
It's very simple.
It's the definition of fucking reductive.
The entire time,
What
where
else?
getting morality from?
I did want to answer to Indians.
Can I answer really quick? Morality is a multifaceted thing. It comes from a whole lot of fucking places. We have rational justifications, emotional justifications. You have foundational principles. Morality comes from us, from our moral intuitions and instincts. It is then honed through our moral reasoning and adopted with moral ideology. It's a complex fucking thing.
God.
Bite size.
God.
Bite size. It must not exist.
Again,
God said.
About the same example that Admiral Gims gave whenever you talk about another culture. I'll go to Arab culture or any other culture that believes culturally and systemically completely different things. Their morality isn't the same thing. So no, you cannot point to these markers. I'm asking you where you get it from. It's not that complicated. Is it your opinion?
Moral philosophy.
Wait.
Where do you get yours?
Wait, hold on.
Where do you get yours, Tweaker?
Christ.
Okay, so how do you know that there's any value there? How do you know that Christ is anybody that you should follow? How do you know that? You don't know that, so that's not objective.
Well,
and also, Jesus would be a subject.
Well, let me.
Wait, hold on. What do you mean Jesus would be a subject?
Because you're getting it from him, so that would be the subject. What Jesus says. According to you, Jesus says,
God,
therefore
and he's
I
also
believe.
The Holy Spirit. It's not just a subject.
Well, hold on. Is there such a thing?
No, Jesus Christ was a human being. So if you want to start making claims about the Holy Ghost and God, then again, the burden of proof is on you to prove that these things exist.
This message is sponsored in part by.
May I jump in?
I get that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so this is kind of the issue I'm taking with what Tweaker's saying, right? I did bring up other like cultures, right? As like, hey, we can get morality from different things. I think Effigy also just brought up like how like morals can be developed. This is another kind of area where this really falls apart. Your morality might be focused through a Christian lens, but we also know that people like atheists can develop senses of morality. We have secular morality. These are all different forms of morality that are valid. If you tell me your morality comes from Jesus and the Bible and you're a Christian, and I say, I don't recognize that, and then I go and vote, and my people take over. So guess what? Your morality, virtue, all your ideas, they don't matter anymore because I'm now implementing a different set of morals and masculinity, and that's been my point this whole time, is it's all subjective, and you're pushing a very narrow, and it's not even really a fully Christian view, it's only a new neo-Christian view, like from the last 50 years, is kind of the point that I make.
So you take atheism and try to use them as an example when all they are is, the only way they exist is through Christianity, Muslim, Buddhism. Without these religions, atheism actually doesn't exist.
Okay, agnostic.
No.
That's not how that word works, but okay.
Yeah. It's atheism. It means you're anti this thing.
No, A means without. The prefix A means without. Theism is a word that means a belief in a. Oh my god! Oh my god! Put the crack pipe down, dude. Put the crack pipe down. A is a prefix that means without. Theism is a belief in a god or gods. I am without a belief in a god or gods. Therefore, I am atheist. I'm not anti anything. I'm very pro Christianity. I think Christianity is one of the best things for our society. I just think that we could do better because it's based on lies. Unless you can prove me wrong and explain to me how you know that Jesus Christ is anything other than a man, then you are making the same argument that anybody else is. You have no objective morality.
Before you go, let me answer that. So you asked him to prove that God exists when we live within space and time. So you want us within space and time to prove that God exists. That's like
if you're basing your morality on it, then yes.
I'm not done.
Yeah, but I know you're going.
No, you don't. So that's like, you literally don't know. You can't read my mind. You don't have the.
Okay, so go ahead and say the thing that you're about to say.
That's like having two AI argue that they have to prove their programmer exists within the program. They cannot actually prove their programmer exists.
Exactly. That's the point. That's the point. If you can't prove it exists, then you can't use it as your objective morality. It has to exist in order for it to be objective.
Brother, use your memory. Let me finish talking. Remember the stuff and talk when I'm done. So you can't ask us to prove something exists within space and time that exists outside of space and time. In addition to that, I'm pretty
sure. And yet you'll ask us
for
things outside of space and time to do things sequentially and with consequences.
You guys have no memory, do you? Like, just wait till I'm done talking. And to answer to
no, don't try to use logic on us and then say illogical shit.
And to answer to your point that where morality, so basically without God, without an objective standard, which is the Bible, and we know Jesus exists because of, because of this and because of this. I got 3 different versions of the same book, all written.
That doesn't mean that the human being that existed. Oh my God. Finish up then. Land the plane. Let's go.
There is more historical context and more historical documents leading to the existence of an individual named Jesus from
I have never.
I'm not done. From different people, Roman, Jewish, and Greek.
No.
I didn't say he didn't exist. I just said he proved that he's more than a man. You guys are the ones that are making the claims that this is objective morality coming from a place. Fine, if you want to make that claim, you can make whatever claim you want. But that's the burden of proof is on you.
So what you believe in is the Big Bang Theory, right? That's not what you believe in over the objectivity of God?
Can we not do a debate about the beginning of the universe? I want to talk about masculinity just for
we go.
You're the worst person to talk about masculinity, right?
No, it doesn't matter.
That's great.
Like your definition.
Let me speak real quick. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, he's feminine, and you're a bitch, bro. Look at you. I'm like,
I mean, that's fine, dude. You cried to me begged for your partner.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and be real. Hey, I got the recording of you crying. Do you want it? Do you want me to send you the recording?
Can someone pay to mute Tweaker, please? Jesus.
I'm gonna kick you off the panel, you unintelligent motherfucker.
You're too dumb to understand your own argument. Sorry.
Yeah, in all fairness, Tweaker, you're a little extravagant this evening. And,
if anyone's subject to getting kicked, it's you.
Well, but unfortunately, the top of the panel can't get booted because you are the debaters of the evening.
Just mute. Just mute.
Be humble. What I was saying though is exactly what Sarah was saying to me earlier, where it's like, okay, it's not your responsibility to prove the negative. It's like, okay, well, it's the exact same argument. It's the exact same hole in your argument with the religion.
It's not a hole in the argument when I ask a question to you because you presuppose that this is bad and I ask you what bad is. All of a sudden, now the onus is on me to prove what bad is? It's illogical. It's been this way the entire time.
This I'm sorry, I don't see your name anymore, but the gentleman below Kel. Yeah, as well. I would like to engage with what you just said. Let's just grant that Jesus existed. He was actually a person, right? I'll grant that, right? Let's just grant it. Would you also grant that Muhammad was a real person? We know
Muhammad Ali. There's a bunch of Muhammad.
Sure, I mean Muhammad the Prophet. I think you know which one. We have,
there we go.
We have substantial evidence. Muhammad.
We do know that Muhammad existed. Okay. He couldn't read, and he wanted to marry a 9-year-old.
Sure. Listen, I'm not arguing that. I'm not arguing he's a good person. Whatever. I'm arguing that we have both evidence of both these individuals living, and I actually agree with you. I think that Muhammad was a reprehensible person. So when you're sitting here though, and your basis is, hey, I believe in extra religion.
Hold on, somebody's got feedback going on. Kat, I think it's on your end. I'm going to mute you for now. If you have another tab or something going on,
so when you're arguing this, I believe. About your argument when you're hey, I believe in this religion because XYZ, I have this historical basis. I'm sympathetic to that. But then when I see other religions that also have a equal, if not more, substantial basis history that we can prove, like Muslims, well, that automatically gives them more credence. It would make them the more moral actor by your own argument. And I don't want that. That sounds fucking terrible.
I'm willing to engage with this.
Supposing a bunch of objective morality.
Pause. Okay.
What about the Muslim religion? Gives it more credence.
Guys, you guys can finish, but he can't. Let him finish.
What? He did finish. I was talking about.
He did. You talking about Admiral?
Yeah, he finished.
Oh. Yeah. So let's look at the basis. So are we going to believe a book that was written by 55 different authors over 400 years, or a book that was written over 50 years, 16 different authors in one location? Which one has more historical relevance?
Neither.
Don't trust any book.
Neither.
No. You talked about Muhammad. So when you talk about Jesus being referenced in almost every religious text in most religions throughout history, where Muhammad is not.
Yeah,
he never claimed Jesus was fake. He just is claiming he's a man.
No, he's trying to make an equivalent. Man, he's trying to make an equivalence from Jesus to Muhammad. What we're trying to demonstrate is Jesus throughout all religions. It is validated throughout all the same religions, whereas Muhammad is not.
Listen, I've heard this argument.
I bet you have.
Listen, the argument though.
Hey, Kat, how's it going?
Is this working?
Good. What do you think about the debate this evening? Are you in agreement with the fact that masculinity is the driving and therefore most positive force in politics and will continue to be that? Or what do you think?
I think it's net positive for us to have masculinity in our leadership. I do think that is appropriate.
Why is that? Can you let me know?
I think it's just more of a leadership role for masculinity, in my opinion.
Masculinity. Am I crazy for thinking that it's a combination of things, right? Stoicism, protection, provision, leadership, perhaps biological components which make up men generally?
No, I don't think you're wrong in that definition. I mean, there's probably a little bit more to it. Like they were trying to get to, there are some women who have masculine characteristics, but for the most part, we do attribute them to men. And I can get on board with that.
Yeah, and they exist together, not just one. You can't just take like one. Like, for instance, some women are stoic. You can't just apply that and be like, okay, sure, she can make a great politician, right? It doesn't make a good politician. Right. Yeah.
No, not the characteristics individually, no.
Yeah. The other thing that we spoke about was just in terms of whether or not somebody being able to grasp a concept might make them a good leader, right? I think there's a differentiation between career politicians and somebody who could actually take the knowledge and apply that in the field. Can you agree with that?
Yeah, like experience, hands-on experience is more valuable in a lot of respects.
Yeah, well, the ability to apply knowledge is also valuable, no?
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. I have to do that in my career as well. So I definitely think that is very important, especially to leadership roles.
See, there we go. A logical woman who understands the definition that me and Base have been getting at all night. And guess what? Kat understood it in less than a minute. I didn't have to explain it to her 10 to 11 times. She understood it instantly. So say all you want about bias, but W Cats.
I gave myself the W in the chat anyway.
Yeah, well, as is your right. Moderator.
This is not. I'm like, Kat, you sound like a sweetheart. I'm like, and this is not anything against you. I'm just saying, of course. Oh my God, yes. Look, she finally gets it. Oh, it's almost like she hasn't been like forced to think about this critically for a couple days and like back up her argument. And Kat, do you debate a lot?
No.
I don't debate at all.
No.
So yeah. Oh, look. Oh my God. Finally, someone agrees with me. I bet I could pull in 10 people here that would agree with me and be like, yeah.
You by your own admission.
I bet you couldn't actually, unless you flashed yourself like you usually do. But I'm pretty sure your ideology falls flat on its face.
Quick heads up to the panel. I have to go check on. Oh no, wait, no, it came in. Never mind. It's good. I was thought I was having a medical emergency for my daughter. Just to the chat, so you know that dono goal is not going to complete itself, but you have 10 minutes to figure it out, or else this shit show goes away and I go to bed. So up to you to decide. Back to you, panel. I believe it was Gibbs. Was it Gibbs that was talking when I was took everyone away?
Yeah, Gibbs and I.
Sarah, bring the content. Don't know, chat.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess the question is, I'm not sitting here saying their morals are valid, right? I actually don't back what the Muslims do at all, Azrael. But kind of the question is, whenever you're arguing from historical they exist standpoint, well then at this point they have almost just as strong a claim, and that's a real problem for me because I don't want Muslim morality to control my life. I don't particularly want specific sects of Christianity to control my life. I think you could probably agree with it if you're Christian. There's sects you wouldn't agree with, right? And so if we're going to sit here and have this, and then there was secular morality, which is terrifying. There's like socialist or communist morality. That's also terrifying. Like all these things are like bad. And so when I'm sitting here going, oh, well, these aren't equal. They are equal, unfortunately. There's people that believe in them, and they will attack and use them, whether or not we think they're valid or not. And I think that's kind of the argument that I'm making. Like, if I grew up in Papua New Guinea, my idea of morality would be a valid sense of morality. You might not think so from your point of view as a Christian, but how would I know any better if I've grown up that way and I've experienced my whole life? It's societal construct.
But this is presupposing that it's subjective morality. And I would argue that if morality is subjective, then it doesn't exist. It's just a preference.
Well, what's intrinsic? So what is intrinsic morality?
It's
well, so this is where I wanted to step in and kind of help Tweaker out with the argument. You know, he was kind of getting into what is known as tag, right? A lot of people roll their eyes when they hear that. But just to kind of flesh it out.
Are we getting into tag right now? I want to talk about masculinity.
Assholes to drag us into it constantly when it's not the subject.
A little bit, all right? Well, I know it's not with the subject, but I just want to help him make his argument a little bit. So when he asks you if the grape cages are bad, and you give a reason, especially if you have the view of subjective morality, if you are under subjective morality in our worldview, then you can't actually call anything bad because it's just a preference at that point.
Well, I can. And one thing I can do, if Base Tweaker walks up and he says, hey, we're going to put all the women around you into cages and we're going to grape them, then what I can say is, hey, me and all these other men, we're going to fucking stop you, loser. We're going to throw you in a cage and we're going to keep you there until you stop trying to put all the fucking women in cages, you psycho.
So you didn't actually